First, we need to write the algorithm. Implementation. An array with values to sort. First, we need to create an array with values. So, an inner loop that goes through the array. The inner loop that goes through the array and swaps values if the first value is higher than the next value. Okay, this loop must loop through one less value each time it runs. This loop must loop this loop. Which loop? Any inner loop must loop through one less value each time it runs. Okay. Next, an outer loop that controls how many times the inner loop must run. For an array with n values, this outer loop must run n minus 1 times. So, if 5 values are there, so this outer loop must run n minus 1 times. But if 5 values are there, outer loop must run 5 minus 1, 4 times. So, outer loop always controls how many times the inner loop it must run. Okay. So the resulting code, we need to write the code like this. Okay. Suppose this is the code we have written here. So to understand this code, how bubble sort algorithm worked out. So array, my array, you can keep this as anything. If you run this code, whenever you run this code, this will be sorted array, which is that 5 is the least one. So that least 5 will be kept at the starting point, and 64 is the highest number. 90 is the highest number that will be set to the last position. Okay, last. So here the code written, we need to try to understand that how, as per our first, okay, this is the array, means in Python. So 3 languages given here: Python, C, Java. Okay, first of all, try to understand Python, how the bubble sort algorithm will be implemented. So this is an array. You can keep your name any. Okay, doesn't matter. Array, this is a variable, array name. Okay, ARR, array, ARR, as you wish. So array in Python, this is a list. This is a, you comment here, this is a list. So for comment, hash can be used here. So this is what array variable means. In Python, list will be used as an array. There is no any special array. So always list will be declared in square brackets. Okay, how many values? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 values means loop to be rotated. Okay, outer loop to be rotated how many times? 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 minus 1. If we know the length of the length is equal to len function print len function here of len function of array, ARR. ARR is an array. Okay. Now if we do like this, we will get total element rather than counting them. If you run this, 8 elements you will get here. Trace back. Okay, my array is not defined. Why? Because you have changed this array. So always you need to change all the values as array. Okay, my array, I have changed the array name as okay, and you can keep your name, but suitable name, meaningful name to be written. Okay, that is very important. Okay, now whenever you run this code, so if you run this code, you will get the total length of the array, how many values? 8 values are there, rather than counting. Okay, 8 values are there. So now try to understand. One list is declared, that is what, in array. So length we find out that 8 is there. So the outer loop to be rotated how many times? 8 means 7 times. So now see, n is equal length of array. Length of array already this is okay, length of array. So n is equal to what now? Length of array 8. 8 is, this is equal to hash. Result will be what? 8. Okay. So n will become 8, length of array. For I, for loop used here. For I is a variable. It will be set to initially 0 in range n minus 1. In range n minus 1 means 8 minus 1 7. Okay. For j, this is what, j is your inner loop. J is what? Your inner loop. This is I is what? This loop is for outer loop. You mention here. Outer loop. This is called your inner loop. So whenever this is n minus 1, means 8 minus 1, 7, then for, so why 7? I told you that in our, this is where algorithm what we have. So outer loop that controls how many times the inner loop must run. So for an array of n values are there, this outer loop must run n minus 1 times. That's why n minus 1 for loop. Okay. So n minus 1 time outer loop. So 7 times will be outer loop travels, iterates through how many times? 7 times. N minus 1 7 times. This is the inner loop. Inner loop, it is for how many? Every time it will be n what? N is what? Initially length 8 minus I. Initially I is equal to what? Initial I is equal to, if it is set to 0, so 8 minus 0 minus 1. So the inner loop initially j value will be what? N minus 8 minus I, 0 minus 1. So 7. So now try to understand here what happened. As I told you that the outer loop iterates through the array 7 times. Okay, bigger n minus 1. So inner loop, that is inner loop, n minus I minus 1. N is equal to how many times? 8 times minus I. I initially, if it is set to 0, okay, so minus 1, that is equal to 8 minus 1, 7. So here condition we are writing like what you must try to understand. If your array j is what? Suppose it is starting, this is the loop starting, iterating through this 64, it is taking 2 values. So that moment, array j is what? This value. Okay, greater than j plus 1. J plus 1 is what? J plus 1, if it is j, so now j plus 1, next one. Okay, 0, this is what? 0 index, 0 plus 1, now this one. So if this value, initially it is taking these 2 values and comparing with them. So whenever 64 greater than j plus 1, so now what it does, now greater than value, bigger value will be kept, array j comma array j plus 1. For these 2 values, it will set the smallest value to the first and keep the highest value at the last, and then that will be displayed. This is the if you run like this, you will get the like this. Okay.